Good evening, folks. I'm John Smith.
I'm Jason Speedy.
Welcome back. Sorry for the extra week hiatus there, but got us all geared up for winter, I guess.
Yeah, well, busy lives.
Yeah. So we'll jump right into the thick of things here. I think baseball's probably got the biggest news coming out of sports right now. I mean, there's a couple other big stories.
I always think so, yeah. Even when nothing's happening, I think it's the biggest news.
Well, I don't know about that, but so I guess so I guess we'll start with the biggest thing that's kind of played out over the last month or two. The Sochi Ohtani finally made a decision to sign with the Los Angeles Angels. Good pickup. Do you see him kind of projecting to the player that many expect him to be? Is he going to be a good pitcher and hitter?
Well, you know, the comparisons to Babe Ruth, which is probably the greatest American sports icon, I mean, that comparison in itself is absurd. I mean, the kid's 24 years old. He's from Japan, moving to the States, totally different culture. Not really sure how much, if any, he can speak of the language. I mean, those are barriers and built-in things that it doesn't matter who you are. It's going to take, you know, effort and some focus away from just
the game,
concentrating on baseball. I mean, just imagine if you went to Japan and had to learn all these things for yourself. Like, it'd be quite a shock, right? So, so them comparing him to Babe Ruth and, you know, this, that, and I mean, I know they don't really necessarily mean stat-wise, but what he can do pitching and hitting, you know, sets the expectations pretty high, which I don't think is fair to him. But that's how sports reporting is, right? I mean, you have to go big or go home. So, manager Mike Scioscia's already said that they're gonna, you know, try it out with the pitching in DH. Again, I'm not really sure how that's going to work, seeing how they have Albert Pujols signed to, you know, at least another 3 or 4 years under contract at almost, you know, $28-30 million per year. They need to find him a spot because he can't play the infield, outfield anymore, right? Never could play the outfield, but I mean, he's not a first baseman anymore. So there's your DH spot right there. And so are you going to be running out, arguably at this point, their number one pitcher out in the outfield every 4 days? You know what I mean? Wearing down on his legs and making throws and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I root for him. Hopefully, you know, hopefully that he, you know, he's a star. You know, I mean, but
it'd be cool to see. I've never really seen a player like in my generation that was able to play both pitcher and.
Well, I think I think guys like Madison Bumgarner, who's you know, I mean, a well-known thumper in the National League, plays for the Giants. I mean, if he were given the chance to DH, say, in the interleague games and stuff, I bet he'd be all right. You know, it's just guys given the opportunity to showcase what they can do with the bat, right? But, you know, I like the fact he went to the Angels. I'm glad he didn't go to the Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, Cubs. You know what I mean? Like, it's good that the Angels are even a little bit more relevant. I mean, they do have the best player in the game in Mike Trout, but I like it. I'm glad he went there, or like Texas, or you know, like a mid-market-ish type.
Do you see him kind of making an impact right off the bat, like the first season, and maybe?
Well, I mean, they're going to be in an uphill battle, you know, because I mean, Houston coming off the World Series championship. I mean, that in itself is going to, you know, they're going to be the number one competition in the division. Seattle's got a little bit better already. Texas is going to be, you know, I mean, they're always kind of in the mix over the last 7-8 years. You know, Oakland's always seems to be in a rebuild mode. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I think they'll be challenging for a wild card as long as everyone stays healthy and plays up to what they, you know, usually can. They have money, and the good thing about him is that he's not going to be able to be paid a lot of money like for this first year. And they have the Josh Hamilton contract coming off their books, so they'll have some money to spend, and we'll see
how it goes.
Who else they pick up.
And then I guess the next biggest news kind of coming out of baseball, I guess probably a bit more prominent than the Ohtani, but I mean the Ohtani played out a little longer.
Yeah.
But Giancarlo Stanton finally got a move that he approved of. Do you see a little bit of collusion or some confundery there? I mean, Jeter kind of come into the Marlins, cleaned house. He planned on getting rid of as much contract as he could. Mm-hmm. Stanton had a full no-trade clause, so, I mean, he kind of vetoed some other trades, or supposedly vetoed some other trades. So, I mean, do you kind of see that they got
okay.
For
so,
him?
I mean, of course, got a lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah.
So he signed 13-year contract with the Marlins last year, the year
2013,
before.
2014.
Yeah. And, in his contract was a no-trade clause, and that's something that, the organization gave him, and that's that. That's his right to choose where he wants to go. It's interesting to me that, it's not interesting to me in that, that he went to the Yankees. I mean, if you gave everybody that plays Major League Baseball truth serum, I imagine a majority of them would say, I'd like to wear the pinstripes. Yeah. And that's fair, and I mean, no fault in that. I think the timing was perfect for the Yankees because they had CC Sabathia's contract, they had A-Rod's contract, they had money to spend, so they were able to fit it into their team payroll and still, at this point, be under the luxury tax, which I know
was something they wanted to do.
Hal Steinbrenner consistently maintains that they want to stay under that 197 luxury tax. I do find it interesting, though, that, for weeks leading up, and because, like you just kind of noted, it was a big story. You heard the Dodgers and the Cubs and the Giants and the Cardinals. Astros and Red Sox. Now, it makes sense that he doesn't want to go to the Red Sox. It makes sense that he doesn't want to necessarily go to the East Coast, and he narrowed it down to the Yankees, Dodgers, Astros, and Cubs. What the Yankees ended up giving up for him, I find interesting in that it really wasn't what I don't think the Marlins would have been asking from other teams. Yeah. Just for an example, and I know, and I'm just using the Red Sox as an example, I am sure that they would have asked for someone like an Andrew Benintendi or Rafael Devers or some young prospect under control for minimal dollars to go the other way, as well as eating the contract, the team that was going to be getting Stanton. The Yankees virtually gave up nothing. I mean, Starlin Castro is a good player, but he's under contract for another couple years, and the Marlins are just going to flip him to another team anyway. Yep. I think teams like the Mets have already inquired about
his availability.
You know what I mean? And which again will trade him and get nothing, right? So the other two prospects that went in the trade, you, me, nobody else has even heard of. Yeah. Chances are that they pan out are pretty slim because there's 5 levels of Major League Baseball, minor league systems. It's a lot of players that don't make it to the show. You know what I mean? So the big thing in it was the Yankees eating $265 of the $295 million that was owed to Stanton. I think it's fair and it already had, renowned and respected baseball writers have already thrown it out there. Like, it's pretty interesting that Derek Jeter's still helping the Yankees win. You know what I mean? He doesn't even play for them anymore. So, not to mention that Jeter really hasn't started off very well in his tenure as an executive with the Marlins. Reports of letting guys like Jeff Conine, Andre Dawson, who have, Dawson's a Hall of Famer, and Jeff Conine's known as Mr. Marlin, letting them go kind of unceremoniously. You wouldn't think somebody who is held in high stature, such as Derek Jeter, would do it the way that he did. Yeah. There is stories out there that he,
cut off a staffer before
fired somebody that's going in for cancer surgery and stuff, and and look, that's how you make money, and that's how you get ahead in business. I mean, this is something that I would do, not me personally, and that's why I would suck at business, and that's fine. But his reputation on the ball field so far isn't translating to being an executive. Yeah. From what's being put out there. I'm sure Yankees fans and people that are big fans of Jeter would see it a completely different way, and that's fine too. But so the Yankees are loaded. That's the way it should be. So we'll see. I mean, they still have, a great bullpen. They still have 4 quality starters. They now have 3 deadly hitters in the middle of their lineup. Not to mention Greg Bird, Didi Gregorius, Chase Headley for another year, Brett Gardner. Yeah. Excellent move for them. Good for them.
Yeah. I do agree with you that really, I think maybe they should have held out for a little bit more or a higher prospect or.
Well, the Giants offered way more than.
Yeah. But then, I mean, he did veto the Giants.
Oh, yeah,
trade,
absolutely.
So, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
He does have that within his right.
Yeah,
but at the
absolutely.
same time, they also told him if you don't waive your no trade clause, then we'll just keep you here and we'll trade everybody else around you.
Yeah, and
so,
you'll play with
minor leaguers essentially.
Minor leaguers for the rest until you can opt out in 2020.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they should have maybe held his hands, held him up a little bit more, and not necessarily taking the first offer that was going to take the most contract. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
a business, but.
Yeah, oh, it absolutely is a business, and I mean, he had his right to go where he wanted, and the Marlins had their right to do what they did. I just think it's funny that if it was other teams involved, that
it would have been a higher.
If Nomar or Garcia Parra had traded him to the Red Sox for a bag of balls and some money, I just wonder what people would be saying, or if Cal Ripken traded him to the Orioles for whatever, right? Just being
Yeah. So then, I mean, I guess with the Marlins, they got rid of D. Gordon to Seattle. Good pickup for the Marlins, I believe, or Mariners. Sorry.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
very good. Yeah, very speedy. They're going to shift him from second base to center field because they have a future Hall of Famer, Robinson Cano, playing second, and Gene Segura playing short. So, so they're set up the middle now, and they got lots of speed and. He's a 300 hitter, 50, 60 stolen bases a year. Former Gold Glove winner. I mean, he'll be a welcome addition.
Yeah, and then I mean, you still have Ichiro there. I mean, he's not the player he was, but.
Well, Ichiro's a free agent now, so we'll be. I mean, I don't know if another team will pick him up. He's 45 years old, and I mean, he's
might be a good mentor there. So.
Oh no, absolutely, and I mean, when you got guys like Rafael Palmeiro, who's 53, and pretty much been cast aside from baseball history, saying that they can definitely come back and contribute to a winning team and stuff like that. Maybe Ichiro's still got 7, 8 years left in him. Yeah. I'm sure he does, actually. I'm sure
he seems to be a pretty fit fella.
Yeah, he is. But yeah, no, I mean, with the Marlins, I mean, this is their third rebuild now, and I mean, I just, I mean, it does beg the question, like, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, it's, they in '97 when they won, that was, they tore that team down almost immediately after they, had the parade. When they won 2003 again, it was, a tear down, and it's not fair to the fans, and I mean, I really don't, I get how Jeter and new ownership wants to save money and trim payroll, but how are you going to make revenue when you literally have nobody that anybody wants to go see play, right? I mean, nobody wanted to go watch Stanton. So, I mean, and he was their, he was the NL MVP. So, I mean, I don't know who you're going to bring there that people are going to go watch. I don't think it'll be Wai-Yin Chen or, or Marcell Ozuna, good ball player. But, I mean, nobody's going to pay money to go watch them play. So I don't know. I just think it's this is their third rebuild in 20 years, and it's in the new way of how these
trust the process.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's right. I mean, you look at the 76ers, they went through 3 or 4 years of terrible play, and now they have 2 of the best 25 players in the league. Yeah. Look at the Astros. They lost 100 games for 3 years in a row, and now they're World Series champs and are loaded for the next 5 or 6 years. You know what I mean?
So maybe it works out.
Maybe it will work out.
I mean, I think in a lot of situations like that too, though, it is all dependent on how you draft and how your scouting system is. Yeah. Like if you're going to put in the effort to the players, and like, I mean, with Embiid, I mean, he was out 2 years, but they gave him the ability and the time to come back healthy, and I mean, look at him now. Like,
same thing with Ben Simmons. I mean, they're stud basketball players, and I mean, if Markelle Fultz ends up missing the year, I mean, maybe he'll come back next year and his shot will be good and shoulder all good, and it'll be awesome.
So, I mean, the Blue Jays didn't end up picking up the option for Ryan Goins. Good move, bad move. I mean, there's a bit of reaction from Marcus Stroman and I believe a couple of the other ball players on the team. They did end up getting
Eloise Diaz from St. Louis.
Yeah.
So, he was not this past year, but the year before, an all-star. Yeah. they were able to move him because Paul DeYoung, who was minor league last year, came up in May, hit 25 home runs. He's now going to be their starting shortstop. So they kind of had a redundancy of the position, and felt it was within their best interest to move on from Diaz. Which
good pickup for the Jays.
Yeah, he'll be a good ball player. I mean,
upgrade from Goins.
Oh, I think so. I mean, look, everybody that makes it to the professional level, they're all really, really, really talented, good players. What separates them, I think, is opportunity, timing, and work ethic. Goins had an opportunity to play a lot this past year, and of course he's going to, like anybody, if you give him in baseball 400 or 500 bats, they're going to accumulate numbers. And that's what he did. I mean, if he goes and plays in San Diego, I'm sure no Blue Jays fan's going to follow his career for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, is he even playing in 2027? I doubt it. You know what I mean? He was a decent enough player for them, but I mean, I think it's just Jays fans who probably cheered for him, getting...
Yeah, well, I mean, he seemed like a likable guy, too.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
That does make a difference.
Yeah, but, I mean, he's nothing like when they let Edwin walk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's you can't, I'm not saying that anybody did, but, I mean, you can't really compare, the levels of talent there. I mean, middle infielders who hit, 250, 50 RBIs with, 8 home runs.
Just about every...
Well, they're a dime a dozen. I mean... They can be found anywhere.
Was there too much more in baseball you want to touch on? Or?
Well, just that the Veterans Committee voted in the last time we had a show there. They had a list of about 10 nominees, including Don Mattingly, Dave Parker, Steve Garvey, Louis Tiant, these types of players who had very good careers and didn't make it through Hall of Fame balloting eligibility in their first 10 years or 15 years, whatever the rules were at the time. So with this Veterans Committee, it's a group of general managers, Hall of Famers who get to, and baseball writers who basically get a vote on whether they should be elected in part of this Veterans Committee or whatever. And results came back that Jack Morris and Alan Trammell have been voted in. So they'll accompany, I'm assuming, Vladdy Guerrero, Chipper Jones, and Trevor Hoffman this year in 2018 in Cooperstown. I just, I find it, I love the game. I've been to Cooperstown a long time ago, and I'd love to go there again. But the importance of the Hall of Fame, I feel, is really, it's nothing.
Dwindled, yeah.
Oh, it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I think it's the hall of very good baseball players. They're good ball players. But if you mentioned Jack Morris's name, he pitched a 10-inning shutout in a Game 7 in the World Series. That's awesome. Fantastic. Does that mean that you should be in the Hall of Fame? I don't know. You compare him to Nolan Ryan or Sandy Koufax or Gaylord Perry or
a little more
Pedro
easy,
Martinez.
A little easier to get into.
Yeah. I mean, all it takes is having the right people on the committee who are your buddies, who you had a good rapport with. I mean, if he wasn't good enough the first 10, 15 years of balloting, what made him change? What made it change all of a sudden? Same thing with Alan Trammell. He was a 6-time All-Star. I mean, you look at, Kurt Schilling and Mike Messina and Clemens and Bonds. I mean, these guys aren't in, and Alan Trammell is. No offense, but did you even know who Alan Trammell is?
Nope.
Exactly, right? And nor do you care, nor should you. That's my point, I guess, right? I mean, it's...
Well, and I mean, to me, the Baseball Hall of Fame's lost a little bit of its credibility by not having Pete Rose in there. I mean, regardless of what he did as a player or as a manager, he's still the all-time hits leader in the MLB. You can, and then, I mean, to not have Barry Bonds in there, regardless of the performance-enhancing drugs, which he never conclusively tested positive. I mean, he went to trial for 10 years, but I mean, they still don't have any clean-cut evidence that he did it and that he didn't do it. I mean, everybody probably knows that he did, but he still was a great baseball player, regardless. So to me, if you don't have your all-time home runs leader and your all-time hits leader in there over...
Well, I mean, earlier this year, they tried to justify that if Stanton hit over 61 home runs, should he be the new all-time single-season record holder? And it's where does 73 not count as much as 62? You know what I mean? The numbers are the numbers. And all the people that are trying to be,
Well, he cheated, and
yeah, I mean, they all knew what was going on, and they just didn't report it because they knew it was good for their business and good for their profile. So
I mean, why they slap him on the wrist after the fact when they knew about it
because
the
they
whole
can
time?
get another story out of it, and they think that they're higher than the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if my son ends up loving and liking baseball,
Yeah.
I will definitely be teaching him and telling him all about Pete Rose and Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds, a lot more than Alan Trammell and Jack Morris.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, it's just to me, like, can you imagine if Gretzky, like, say he had gambled on hockey or something, like, and then to not have him in the Hall of Fame? Like, I mean, not putting Pete Rose on the same level as Gretzky, but to me, it's foolish.
Well, I mean, and I mean, you look at what Jackie Robinson had to go through. I mean, during his era of playing, he played with a lot of Hall of Famers. They were all racist. I mean, look in 2017 how that's changed. The perception of it. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to think that everybody is against racism. We know that that's not the fact, but things have really changed in the culture within the last 18, 24 months. So should all those people who were racist against black ball players and stuff, should they be should Ty Cobb be thrown out? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
We could go on for hours.
Oh, I definitely could, yeah.
But we'll jump into, I guess, some football. There's
Sure.
some football stories going on.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest one for me is Eli Manning's streak of 210, I believe, regular season games started. Benched for Geno Smith by Ben McAdoo.
McAdoomed.
Yeah, that sealed his fate there.
Yeah.
Did you agree with maybe his assessment that Eli was the problem and that, I mean, you bring in fresh legs, or do you kind of see Geno Smith is no better than Eli, it's not going to change the problem. You're not looking at him to be your future quarterback. The only time I could have seen, to me, I guess, where I could have logically ended the streak and let Eli go is if I had somebody in the back like that was going to be my future quarterback. I mean, Geno Smith isn't going to be my future quarterback.
No, he's not. No, he is a backup.
Yeah.
That's all he is. So I think it's just they both respectively need a change of scenery. I think Eli is going to go to Denver or Jacksonville or a team that's kind of needs a quarterback.
Yep.
Needs a veteran quarterback. I think he's got a couple years left in him. How they went about doing this was totally BS.
Yeah.
The guy helped you win 2 championships. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I know people make fun of the Eli face and the Manning face and all that sort of stuff, and I think a lot of it because people, especially around here, love the Patriots so much. They hate Peyton Manning, and I think that just spills over to Eli too.
Eli stopped him twice, so.
Fair enough. So, but he's been a good quarterback, and he seems like a very stand-up guy. You never hear of any, nothing in the tabloids. I mean, he plays in New York, and I mean, they've been competitive, for years. They just had a bad year. They had bad injuries. I mean, they don't have anybody to throw the ball to.
No,
Odell Beckham and Brandon Marshall both are out.
Yeah.
They don't have a running back. Who really is at fault here would be the general manager.
Yep.
Jerry Reese, and I do believe he was let go too.
Yep.
So bring in some new blood, ship Eli, let him go somewhere else, bring in, draft a quarterback. You're going to get a high draft pick, top 3 or 4, and just go from there.
So just hypothetically, if Eli goes to, say, the Broncos, do you kind of see the Broncos coming back into relevance, or are they too far gone now?
I think that division has shown that, you can have a bump in the road along the way and then you come back the next year. I mean, we all thought Kansas City were world beaters the first 5 games of the year, and now they just stink. The Raiders severely have underperformed this year. The Chargers are the best team in the division, and I mean, they don't even have a home. And so, I mean, if he goes there and they can build some more pieces around him, sure. I mean, they'd be right in the mix. Yeah. The same thing with Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville has probably the best defense in the league. They have one of the best young running backs in the league. They've been decimated on the outside with injuries to Allen Hurns and Allen Robinson. So bring those 2 guys back healthy with Eli Manning. Maybe they're the team to beat next year. So we'll see.
It should be interesting. It should be an interesting offseason.
Yeah.
So I guess in the other big news out of football really is Carson Wentz going out for Philly. They lost. They lost one game there that, and then I mean they bounced back awesome against the Rams last night. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they went in Seattle and lost. Seattle goes into Jacksonville and loses yesterday. So I mean, you know, it was a schedule loss. You know what I mean? Like this. As a fan, I was just thinking that as long as they split those two games between the Rams and Seahawks, that was fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy to go on the West Coast from the East. You know what I mean? That's been history. It's proven that. You know what I mean? Going from coast to coast, right? So, yeah, no, I mean, they did what I thought they were going to do. Now they finish up with the Raiders, Giants, and Cowboys. With Nick Foles, I think they should win 2 of the 3 of those. They should beat the Giants next week and the Raiders. They go and play the Cowboys, depending on what's at stake. We'll see. You know what I mean?
So with Nick Foles, do you kind of just let him loose? And, I mean, are you calling all the plays for him? Or do you kind of let him loose and get some rapport again with the linemen, with his receivers?
I mean, I don't know.
Do you see it dooming them, I guess? I mean, he had a good season. He's a pretty decent backup quarterback. I mean, he had his chance, I think, when
he was an all-star a few
Michael
years
Vick
ago.
went out.
Yeah,
it's 27 TDs to 2 interceptions. So, I mean, he should be competent enough, I guess. Yeah. Are they good enough to just have a competent quarterback?
Well, you know, I mean, they need Zach Ertz back.
Yeah.
He's really come out this year as being, you know, a premier tight end in the league, and but they, you know, Trey Burton there, his backup, and Brent Selleck both had touchdowns yesterday too. So I don't know. They've been effective running the ball this year, and their defense has been really good. I know they gave up a lot of points yesterday, but their front 7 have been really good.
And they have 3 good running backs that they can kind of
alternate, and they all kind of do different things, right? So, but what I mean, I've watched a lot of their games this year, and it seems like they shoot themselves in the foot with bad times to get penalties, you know. So I you know, I don't know. I'm hoping for the best, but I mean, it's hard. It's just too bad. I mean, I really thought they really had a chance. I mean, I know they've kind of quote unquote played a cupcake schedule, but you still got to play the teams that are in front of you.
Well, and I did read too that I think they'd only played 2 teams above, or beat 2 teams above 500, and all the others were beneath 500. But out of those other teams, I think 5 of them were 1 game away from 500 or 500 and better.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they beat the Eagles, then they're 500 or they're better than 500. So I mean, it's not that weak.
The other great teams in the league. Okay, New England plays Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets.
Yeah.
They suck, right? Yeah. So that's 6 wins right there. You look at Pittsburgh. They play the Browns, the Ravens, and the Bengals twice. They all stink too.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, and you look at the Vikings. They play the Bears and the Packers without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So, and the Lions. So, I mean, and people have said this, they play, you know, easy schedule and stuff. Well, all the top teams seem to play easy schedules this year because, I mean, their divisions stink. You know what I mean? So
it's the usual suspects kind of in the mix. And aside from the Broncos, I mean, you kind of would have thought the Broncos would have been up there, but other than that, I mean.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not really. I mean, when you're going into the season with Osweiler and Trevor Siemian, I mean, you shouldn't. Really
I do kind of find it comical that Osweiler ended back at the Broncos. So, then I guess the other big news kind of coming out of the NFL, Roger Goodell getting extended. Jerry Jones still not happy. I guess he tried to get it hauled off at the last minute sort of thing. 4 years, 5 years, $40 million a year, use of the private jet the rest of his life. Good move for the NFL. Do you see kind of maybe the Players Association, like come next contract or the negotiations, collective bargaining, do you see them negotiating something to maybe get him out of the disciplinary role?
Well, you know, I mean, I would go to the other leagues and say, well, when did you have to deal with the things that he's had to deal with?
Yeah.
Like, granted, I mean, the makeup of the league maybe wouldn't be the same as, say, the NFL. But I wonder how Gary Bettman or Rob Manfred or Adam Silver would have all dealt with the Colin Kaepernick and the national anthem and President of the United States getting involved.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we can all sit back and assume we know what we would do, but we don't. We just don't, right? And it's always easy to criticize and be the armchair
general manager,
right? But we don't know, right? So the Ray Rice thing, that really was a tipping point in the whole domestic, and, has he been perfect? No. But who would be?
Yeah. The only thing I find with Goodell, or the only issue I really have with him, is just the disciplinary. I find he's really inconsistent. You get a guy like Josh Gordon, who's been out for 3 years for smoking pot. And then you get a guy like Ray Rice, who went through all the steps. he did end up, everything knows
Let me interrupt just for a second. Let me push back on the Josh Gordon thing. As has come out, he was getting high and drinking before games and practices. Now, what if 5 years from now he has sustained sobriety or managed it in a healthy way, his issues, and he says, Roger Goodell helped save my life?
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess if you look at it that way. I just find it so inconsistent. You can get somebody like even Tom Brady getting the 4 games for inflated balls or what have you. Ezekiel Elliott, no criminal charges. Everything's dismissed with the court of law, but he's getting 6 games. I just find it's very inconsistent. You don't know what's a suspension or how long of a suspension is going to be. Just there's no set guidelines, I guess.
The inconsistency is definitely an issue.
And
should he absolve himself from all that? He probably should. But he hasn't. and will he? I don't know. Yeah. It would probably be better to have a committee that is organized to deal with these issues, and therefore it's just one less thing he has to deal with.
Yeah.
But, people in power like control. Yeah. And, I don't know the guy. I don't really pay much attention to him. You know what I mean?
So we've got about a minute left before we head to break. The other big thing that's been talked about a lot in the NFL is just the Thursday night games with the injuries. Do you see any change coming anytime soon with that? Maybe even if they go to eliminating it altogether or only playing a Thursday night game after your bye week sort of thing?
I don't think they'll change it. There's too much money.
Yeah.
Are some of the players going to give back some of their salary? Probably not. I would guarantee that they're not.
Take it out of the $40 million we're giving Goodell.
and frankly, they don't care.
Yeah.
I'm still watching Thursday Night Football.
But it is painful to watch 7-8 guys go off and pretty well almost every Thursday night game, 7-8 guys off to injury. So I think if they're...
Why do you care?
No, I don't really. But, it's sad to see guys possibly end their career just because they're not getting enough rest.
So I'm playing devil's advocate. They know the risk.
Yeah.
They're getting paid millions of dollars to go out and play a game.
Yeah.
Everybody was so quick to, they shouldn't be, kneeling before the, how they got a privilege playing a game and getting millions of dollars, blah, 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 blah. Well, what's the difference?
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think they should be playing Thursdays either because of all the health issues.
I just think if they could rework it so that the 2 teams that play are the ones coming off their bye week.
They don't care about player safety. So,
as we know with all the concussion lawsuits and everything else.
But, they deny it. Yeah. They deny it, right? They pay doctors under, to refute the facts.
Yeah.
Right.
But we are going to break. I'm getting a little birdie in the ear. So we'll come back and we'll talk some hockey and some basketball. And, there are a couple other sports stories that are pretty big. So we will see you guys in a couple of minutes.
Wishing you all the special blessings of this glorious season from the Algonquin Resort.
Wishing our friends and family a joyous holiday filled with peace, love, and prosperity from Ken McTavish at Century 21.
It's the little things that matter most. Enjoy the holidays from Groom Insurance with locations in St. Andrews and St. George.
Wishing you happy holidays, touched with wonder and filled with love from Garden by the Sea 100% Skincare and Teas on Water Street, St. Andrews.
Peace, joy, and love to you from Anderson Mason Law on Main Street in St. George.
Wishing you a happy holiday season from Scotiabank, St. Andrews.
And welcome back, folks. Again, I'm John Smith.
I'm just checking my phone.
And that's Jason Speedy. So we just, if you missed the first half, we covered baseball and some football. Now we will jump right into basketball. There's been a few stories there. And then we'll go into hockey. And then, I mean, I'll just throw this out here now just in case we don't have time. Toronto FC won the MLS Cup.
I was going to do my Kreskin thing about soccer,
Yeah. So, I mean, they won the MLS Cup. They were the first team in MLS history to win all three. They won the Domestic Cup and then the Shield and then the MLS Cup. And then they had the most points in regular season history. So, historical run for TFC. Good on you. That's pretty well what I had for the MLS. And then in some other sports news too, Russia's kind of banned from the Olympics due to the massive doping scandal that they had. Any clean athletes can participate under a neutral flag. So basically they'd be wearing the Olympic logo, no Russian anthem sort of thing.
So that'll be interesting for Ovechkin. I bet you he's not very pleased about that.
Well, the NHL wasn't able to go to those Olympics anyway.
Well, no, but he made it sound like he was bound and determined that he was going to be there, but it doesn't look like that's the case now.
No. So I guess that was.
But it's too bad, you know. I mean, chances are he wasn't going to be able to anyway. But you know, I mean,
I think it's a shame anyway that the NHL didn't allow its players to go to the Olympics, but that's a whole different one. I could go on that for hours, but we'll jump into basketball now. Those were pretty well like kind of the other big stories. Just in case I didn't get time for it, I did want to get them in.
Sure.
In the NBA, I mean, it's pretty well going as planned now. I mean,
as every basketball season does.
Yeah, everybody's kind of starting to fall into their place. I mean, the Raptors are third place, fourth place, kind of where we've seen them. Boston, Cleveland. Then over in the West, I mean, it's still San Antonio, Golden State, Houston's up there. I think the biggest surprise for me right now in the West for teams that aren't really kind of clicking yet would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. I really kind of seen them as a top 3-4 team, but they really haven't quite got there yet. Do you see it happening?
I think. I mean, it's a long season, right? 82 games. So I mean, I mean, first of all, they got to be in playoff. You know, in the seeding right now, they're ninth in the conference. So, you know, the thing I've been saying the last couple of years, Carmelo Anthony is done as far as being a premier player. So when he got traded there, I mean, there was a lot of excitement and stuff like that because of his name. What he was able really to contribute as far as a number 3 option going forward, well, we're seeing it. I mean, he hasn't been playing very well, not to the caliber that he has in years previous. He's kind of more like a Dwayne Wade. I mean, he's really not, if he's your number 3 guy, it's going to pale in comparison to the other teams you just mentioned. You know what I mean? And at this point, and, I mean, does he, get reinvigorated and, figure a shot out towards the end of the year and in the playoffs? Yeah, time will tell, but we'll see. I mean, but Westbrook has adjusted. He's trying to incorporate. I mean, it takes time, right? I mean, what the Celtics have been able to do with their roster and with the turnover and everything is really extraordinary. I think you have to chalk that up to coaching and just the types of players that are on that squad. But yeah, I think the Thunder, they'll be in good shape. They'll be there at the end. But I mean, the West is loaded like it typically is.
Denver, do you kind of see them falling off a little bit more than they have, or do you?
Well, yeah, their best player there, Jokic. He's going to be out for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and I mean, they can bounce back. I mean, I think they'll be again, and they'll be in the top 8. But I mean, if you're in the top 8, your first dates with either Houston,
Golden State,
San Antonio, or Minnesota, right? So I mean, it's not going to be easy. So.
How do you like how Minnesota's looked so far? I mean, do you see Jimmy Butler fitting in really well?
Yeah, I think he's stolen a little bit of Wiggins' thunder. I think Butler and Anthony Towns have really kind of
linked up well
and improved as a tandem going forward. You know what I mean? More so than Wiggins and Anthony did. So but Wiggins is I mean I think his draft position and being traded for Kevin Love and being from Canada and, number one, I mean, I think that just kind of put expectations that he hasn't been able to meet yet. I know his defensive metrics weren't very good last year, and I don't think they've really improved much this year. So, I mean, he's still a young player. He's got some work to do, and but I think they'll be a good. They'll be a tough out in the first round of the playoffs.
I guess the other team that's really kind of surprised me a bit is the falling off of Memphis. I didn't really see them dropping as bad as they have. I mean, they still had Conley and Gasol. I mean, and they prided themselves on a hard-nosed defensive team.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've fallen off.
Well, Conley's been hurt, and obviously there was more going on behind the scenes with David Fizdale being fired, and everybody in the NBA was really surprised by that because it seems that he's a very smart, very
from what
progressive
I've read,
type of coach. You know what I mean? So
from what I've read, it sounded like him and Gasol didn't really see eye to eye.
Well, he got benched in a fourth quarter of a loss, and then the next day Fizdale was fired. So I mean, and I think Memphis's record since he's been fired is like 1-7 or 1-8. So I mean, wasn't the coaching, man.
No.
It was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's you don't have a very good team around Gasol.
Do you see Gasol getting moved, traded?
Well, they should trade him.
Yeah.
I mean, what do they wait? I mean, come the trade deadline. I mean, what would you? They're not going to make the playoffs, and even if they did, they're not getting buy-in to the other team.
Yeah.
So maybe it's time to rebuild and hope Conley can be the player to rebuild around and not Gasol. Gasol's a very good player, don't get me wrong, and he could be a very big asset on some team who I don't know.
I'd like to see him come to the Raptors, ship out Jonas Valanciunas and or Serge Ibaka.
Sure.
I mean, Ibaka who still really hasn't fit. And, I mean, kind of speaking with the Raptors too, DeRozan and Lowry have kind of really turned it on the last 3 weeks. DeRozan's averaging over 5 assists for the first time in his career. I think he's at like 6.2. And then, I mean, Lowry's averaging over 6 rebounds for the first time in his career. So, I mean, they seem to have really bought into this team concept more so than the ISO ball that they always used to. So.
Well, yeah, they just can't be scorers, right?
Yeah.
They have to do extra stuff on whether it's moving the ball, whether it's rebounding the ball, whatever. And their biggest surprise to me has been Van Fleet.
Yeah.
They let Corey Joseph go in the off season. Van Fleet has been great.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really brought a lot of energy off the bench,
really
and he's been very reliable in the point guard position. And you pair him with Norman Powell and Siakam, and you got a decent second unit.
Yeah, their bench unit's been
CJ Miles.
Phenomenal for them so far this season. And then I kind of like the way Casey's rotated it too. Like he seems to bring on the whole bench almost all at once and save Lowry or DeRozan like one of them usually and just rotate everybody
stick him in one of these, stick in the 10th, 11th, 12th guy. I mean, you see that with Golden State. I mean, they've kind of had to do it because guys have been injured and stuff like that. But I mean, they're, guys like JaVale McGee and Patrick McCaw and these types of players. I mean, they're 11th, 12th guys on their bench, but
they're still getting 15 minutes a game.
Well, you give them some run, and they'll improve and they'll do stuff, And that's what you got to do if you want to improve the team as a whole. Because you don't know if you're going to rely on them.
More with the Raptors this year as opposed to several years past, as their bench is going deeper and going further.
Now, there's been a few troubling signs though. Like they played the Knicks there a few weeks ago, and I mean they got outscored. They went like on a 30, and the Knicks went on like a 32 run or something like that. I mean, you can't have that. And
they did end up coming back, I believe.
They did. Oh yeah. But I mean,
I still don't think they ended up winning that game.
They didn't. They lost. They lost, and coincidentally, I won a pro line ticket. I've been betting against them, so.
They have won 6 in a row now, so I mean that's their longest streak of the year. So they do look like they're on a bit of the up. OG Anunoby's looked really good for them too for a rookie. So it should be interesting to kind of see where they fall. I mean,
they'll be the 3rd spot. I mean, it'll be Boston, Cleveland, Toronto, and then it'll be.
But do you see Cleveland dropping off at all now? I mean, they've really picked it up over the last 2 weeks, but we've seen the first month how they were. Do you kind of see them maybe falling back to that pace? I mean, Derrick Rose is still out. Calderon's done an admirable job filling in at the starting point, which I said from the beginning is that's who it should be. But
well, Isaiah Thomas will be back.
Yeah.
Hopefully. You know what I mean? And towards the end of January, February,
Do you see an adjustment period and stuff?
Oh
there
yeah,
too?
it'll be an adjustment period for sure. But I mean, he's a good guy you want to have to try and adjust with. You know what I mean? And general manager LeBron will, complain to management and get,
somebody else.
Maybe he'll get Paul Gasol or Mark Gasol. He'll get somebody to fortify the Cavaliers.
Yeah, because
the posse.
Yeah. So we got about 10 minutes left
in a
almost.
negative way.
Yeah.
I did not. It was just, using his own words against him.
So the Rockets, I guess, they've played phenomenal since Chris Paul's been back. James Harden. Do you see them now as the number one in the West? I mean, statistically right now, they are the number team in the West, but do you still have them ahead of Golden State?
Well, like you and I were saying before, I mean, I think Houston's going to give them a good go, but until Golden State's beat by another team other than the Cavaliers in a 7-game series, it's still Golden State. I mean, they still have, 4 of the 15, 20 best players in the league. Yeah. That's pretty hard to contend with when they're all rolling, if they're all healthy. Which has been difficult because Curry's out now. Yeah. He's going to be out with, he's had ankle issues in the past. They want to make sure he comes back and is healthy for the rest of the season. And Kevin Durant seems to be some sort of fake tough guy this year. So
well, and then I thought it was comical too. I think he's been injected 3 times or 4 times now.
3 times this year and twice last week.
Yeah, and then he said, "I don't do anything until the final minutes." And he's like, "We're not out there like to fight, like we're just talking, like so if you're talking, like, and you're not going to do anything about it, why don't you just zip your lips, be a good team player, and not get yourself thrown out of games?" But
he's trying to develop some persona that he's hard edge, tough as nails, and whatever. Yeah. Well, DeMarcus Cousins would have wrecked you, would have wrecked anybody.
Well, he's a big boy, and he's
and Durant pretty much ran from him, and as well he should have. But that's the point. Like, stay on the court. Don't.
I think they're going to be a tough out too. Kind of speaking of DeMarcus Cousins with Davis. He's out. Or I guess he's just back now, but he was out for a week or 2.
Yeah.
But I can see them being a tough out too, because
Drew Holiday's a good ball. Yeah, no, they're going to be in the mix, but to your point about Houston, until
somebody can beat Golden State. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant.
Well, and Klay Thompson is having a career year, and Draymond, but they're going to be a tough out, no question.
Yeah. And then I guess in the ball news, we haven't really talked LeVar Ball for 3 or 4 weeks. I know you missed it.
No. Yeah.
He's also pulled LiAngelo Ball out of UCLA. LaMelo out of high school. He was going to homeschool him. Now they apparently signed a 1-year deal over in Lithuania to play in the Baltic League. Wants to guarantee that they'll get 20-25 minutes together on the court. Do you see him essentially ending any of their chances of getting in the NBA?
Yes. Well, no. I think LaMelo. I don't think his talents would have.
Brought him there anyway. Yeah.
The youngest, they say, is a pretty good.
LaMelo's the youngest. LiAngelo, I think.
Oh, okay, right. Okay. Yeah. He's got, prospects, maybe, right? But his.
Do you see it hurting him though that he won't end up playing in college?
Well, I don't know. You got guys like Brandon Jennings and Ben Simmons who played, played overseas, and they, got, kind of a crash course on playing. Ball with real men, you know what I mean? So, could benefit them. I think being in high school and, being part of the Ball family and going in, that's going to be quite a big adjustment how they handle it. I don't know.
Well, and it's not even an English-speaking community, so.
Yeah, it's just little things like that. Yeah. Which, like we talked about Ohtani earlier with.
It's going to be an adjustment. Period,
it's going to be an adjustment. Yeah. If you were in high school, would you. Because your dad wanted you to, would you get plucked out of high school with all your friends and everything like that and go to Lithuania? They probably didn't even know very much about Lithuania. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. He's an interesting guy. I wouldn't pay 2 cents to listen to him talk for a minute, but,
CNN seems to like him.
But that's the thing, right? Mm-hmm. It brings sets of eyeballs to the TV.
Yeah. And then I guess there's just a couple more stories in basketball before we hit hockey, because I think we got about 10 minutes left. Derrick Rose was out with ankle surgery, and then he subsequently left the team. Contemplated retirement. If he retires, so he's leaving, I believe, 70, 80 million on the table with Adidas for his endorsement contract or whatever. Is he done?
Oh yeah, he's absolutely done. Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, there's talks that he plans on coming back, but
Well,
do you feel for the guy? I mean, he does make millions of dollars, play a sport that he loves, but all of the injuries that he's withstanding over these years, sustained.
From that, there is a.
To me, it's like he's got a mental fatigueness too. Like he's just tired of battling back, and
there is something to when you know you will never reach the potential that you had. I mean, he was an MVP at this second or third year in the league. I mean, the Bulls were the next real big, and they just completely
fell apart,
fizzled away, right? And it's all because he couldn't stay healthy. He was such a dynamic player in college, such a dynamic player the first couple years in the league, and once one injury happened, it just was one right after it, And so ankle. I do feel bad for him in that I think he'll always have regret in that he'll see what he could have been and what could have been his legacy and what it will be, and unfortunately it will be regarded as unfairly in that they'll how people how it goes, right? Unfulfilled potential, this, that, and everything else. And it'll be really crapping on his career when really, what can you do if your leg gives it? You know what I mean? Like,
I think
crap happens, right?
Two knee surgeries, back surgery, ankle surgery. So
he kind of left the team this time and left the Knicks last year. So clearly that's not. That's not correct, proper judgment. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't expect that out of your teammate and your family member. So I think there is definitely some mental.
So we got 5 minutes left. I do want to get on some hockey.
Sure.
Toronto, I guess. That's my team, but I do want to get them. I want to get them in a little bit. They are playing well, but I do think they're playing a bit above their head. Freddie Anderson's had a terrific November, beginning of December, playing like the way I thought he could. He started out really slow last year too, so hopefully he can keep it up. Matthews is kind of I don't know if he's kind of battling an injury because
I think he's out tonight with a upper body or lower body injury. So how they like to stay vague about that stuff.
I think it was Minnesota that said they're gonna not stay vague about it anymore. They're just gonna tell you, or Columbus might have been torts because it sounds like a torts thing. But anyway, I think they're playing a bit above their head. But at the same note, Mitch Marner and William Nylander haven't really started scoring yet either. So once those guys kind of maybe rebound from play to their potential, then maybe they're not really playing too above their head.
No,
Tampa Bay is playing lights out too.
Yeah, but they've regressed a little bit. They've come back to the pack a little bit. They're still leading their division or whatever.
Yeah, they're 3 points back at Tampa, but 9 points up, I think, on Boston. But Boston has 4 games in hand.
That's it. Yeah. And look, Toronto's doing like what I thought they'd be doing. I figured that they wouldn't necessarily be the top team in the Eastern Conference, but they're. Yeah,
I like I said, I do feel like they're playing a bit above their head because a lot of the games I've watched, they're getting outshot, they're getting outplayed. Freddie Anderson stole a lot from them lately. Mm-hmm. But
it's the other who they
Edmonton. He played. Oh no, that was McElhinney last night against Edmonton, and he stole it. But Pittsburgh, he did well. He's played really well. Yeah. Kind of the biggest surprises for me, how bad Chicago's doing. It's their worst third of the season since they've had Taves and Kane together. Mm-hmm. Corey Crawford's really kind of carrying them to where they are right now. Mm-hmm. I guess, and then in news, not with the games and stuff, the salary cap set to rise, or projected to rise to 82, up to 82 million, 78 to 82. It's at 75 right now. So good news for teams like the Islanders who are hoping to re-sign Tavares next year.
Well, it's good for the league. Obviously, revenues are up and continue to climb, right? Yeah. So it's absolutely good.
And then in the other big news, Seattle has an NHL bid now. They're renovating the arena for $600 million, I think it was, Phillips Arena, $650 or whatever it was, and then.
Well, I think when Vegas put in their bid, it was $500 million, and for Seattle, it'll be $650.
Yeah.
Reportedly.
Yeah, and then I believe the Phillips Arena, I think the adjustments are like $600 million or whatever, and the renovations.
So if that happens, then probably a basketball team is going to go back there.
That's what kind of the mayor of Seattle said. If one of them comes, then the other won't be long behind. So should be interesting to see. Good for Seattle. I mean, it should create a nice rivalry too with Vancouver, Seattle right there.
Yep. Do you think that'll be a relocation for like Arizona, or it'll be a straight up?
I think it's a brand new franchise. Bring it to 32. I see if Arizona moves, I kind of see it maybe going to Houston. It's kind of where I got a feeling. Just Houston's a big market. Not going to
Quebec or Hamilton.
I don't see Quebec or Hamilton ever getting a franchise again. That's just kind of the way I'm reading into things. It doesn't seem like it's good news for either of these teams. I see Houston as the next one after Seattle. Just
why not Quebec? I mean,
too close to Montreal. I'm not really 100% sure. The Canadian dollar.
That wouldn't work.
Well, I think it would work. I mean, you see in Winnipeg, it's a small market there, and they sell out. But I think the Canadian dollar plays a part into it too. Just more money with the American dollar. And
Oh yeah. Well,
bigger markets.
Always comes down to money. And but I'd
love to see the Nordiques back. Don't get me wrong. And I mean,
as anybody can tell that watches the show, I'm not exactly the biggest. I'm a hockey fan, but I would be inclined to go there to watch a game as opposed to say Toronto, Montreal, or Boston, just because it's closer.
Close.
And I've been to that. I've been to their facility there for concerts and stuff, and it's beautiful. It's great. It's easy to get around the city. You know what I mean? So to me, fair weather fan. Maybe that's something they should do.
Yeah. Oh no, I'd love to see a team in Hamilton too. Toronto, Hamilton, Ottawa. That would be great. Just trifecta of teams there. It'd be some good rivalries. Yeah. I see Bettman being more of an American businessman. Just sees the money there and the sheer number of people too. Houston's probably, I think, 5th biggest city in North America or something like that. So that's just kind of where I see it. But Seattle, it sounds really good. Sounds really promising that they're going to get a team. I think probably for the 2020 season, 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021. So we got to start wrapping it up. The LA Kings, I guess, are doing really good. 8-2-1 or 8-2 in the last 10. They're surprising me. Boston's really started to step it up, which is kind of surprising. Montreal, I still don't think they're very good, but they've played a lot better since Carey Price came back. Well, if they start to go down the drain again, though, I see kind of Pacioretty being maybe up for.
It doesn't matter how good or how bad they do. If the story that we were talking about before the show was true.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't want to be Carey Price.
Yeah, but it should be interesting how Montreal finishes out. If they start to go on another slide again, I could kind of see them blowing it up a little bit, maybe getting rid of Pacioretty, Galchenyuk. I still think they goofed it on the Subban trade, and that's kind of a bit. Weber's no slouch.
Might goof it on the Jonathan Drouin trade too.
Yeah, Sergachev's looked awesome for Tampa Bay, so. Yeah. Should be interesting. It's just they don't score, and they shipped away 2 good puck-moving defense for 2 guys that are slow. So that's pretty well what I've got to say in hockey. I'd like to see the cap go up. I'd like to see maybe the Leafs make a run at Tavares next offseason. It probably won't happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, why don't you just throw in Stamkos?
Yeah, well, we tried that a couple of years ago, and he chose to go back with
Tampa. Trade for Kucherov, too.
Dowdy's going to be up in 2 years, too, Doughty and Carlson. I guess that's another story.
Well, yeah, that's another story. What do they do? What does Ottawa do? They've been, mired in a very big-time losing streak. Can't score any goals. What do they do with Carlson? Carlson and Doughty have already came out and said,
we're not taking a pay cut.
No, if Subban's making this, we want this. You know what I mean? And
yeah, it should be interesting to see. I am really surprised at how poorly Ottawa's done. I think that's a lot on Craig Anderson right now. But yeah, anyway, we'll get into hockey first the next show.
In the new year.
Yeah, because that will be right after the World Junior Championships too, so we'll have a bit to talk about there. Yeah. World Juniors will start up, I believe, the 24th or 25th. The pre-tournament games are starting now. So
you're not coming in for Christmas?
No.
I think I'll be home with the family too.
So the next show, guys, will be January 2nd, and we will see you then.
Good night.